So it's been a year, about a year since I talked to you last about Paradox. It's been an exciting year for Paradox. How would you summarize the last 12 months or so?
Yeah, it's been hectic. It's been a lot of things to do. So basically in Q3 we released 3 major titles within 1.5 months. So that was probably our most busy time ever at this company, both for the development side and for the publishing team. So I think that we've learned a lot in the last year. That's a good summary, I think. We learned that releasing 3 games within 1.5 months wasn't so smart. That's the first. But I think that we learned a lot about our own internal processes and how to maximize output a lot. So we learned to communicate directly to the gamers even more as well. We got very mixed reactions to Hearts of Iron 3, for example. So we were out there on the forums discussing with people, looking at what improvements could be made for the game and things like that. So very busy times.
Because that's the kind of game that I guess you're never really done developing. It will be done in like 5 years or something when the final patch releases.
Well, something like that. Hearts of Iron is some sort of a never-ending story because it's so deep and it's so open-ended that it doesn't really matter how you do it, how you implement the game, because there's always someone who will think that it doesn't work the way they like it. So, but also that's the charm of the game, I think. Now, Hearts of Iron wasn't maybe as stable as we had wanted on release, but the gameplay as such is, well, that's what we deliver, the open-ended, really deep gameplay. So that part we're fairly happy with.
Looking from the outside, I would say that this year for Paradox is going to be the year when you enter the console business as a sort of headline for this year. Is that something that, I know you've been working towards that for a long time. How do you feel about that?
It's obviously a huge step forward. We got our publishing agreements in place with Sony, with Microsoft, and with Nintendo almost at the same time within the 3 months period. So obviously we've been working hard for this for a long time, and finally we get the chance to release titles. But it's also a mixed feeling because our user base is PC gamers mostly, and I know there's been traditionally a beef between console and PC gamers. So what we hope to do is just not dumb down what we're actually doing as our core business, but to use consoles as a complement to the PC games business.
Of course, other strategy developers like Firexis, when they brought Civilization to console, they did a sort of a light version of that concept. Is that something you would consider with any of your franchises as well?
Absolutely. I would lie if I didn't say that we've been looking at how we could possibly implement some of our key franchises into console games. We have mainly looked at the controls and how the overall concept would look, but it's tough not to dumb the game down too much. Personally, I think that the Revolution did a good job on the Civilization franchise. So, but we want to make sure that this is a game that is targeted towards our key audience and not for an entirely new audience that we're seeking for the consoles only. So.
And speaking of letting go, and there are a few other titles that you're sort of straying away from being a strategy only company. How's that feel? And is that a noticeable change here at the offices?
It is a bit of a change, but I think the key ingredient in all of our titles, the first RPG that we did was Mountain Blade, which is the core element of Mountain Blade is that it's very skill based. It takes a lot of time to learn, and it's a very deep game. So in that aspect, it's quite similar to the games that we already do. If you take a game like Ship Simulator, it's kind of the same, that you need to be very dedicated, you need to be very interested in what you're actually doing to play the game. It's not just something you sit down and do for 5 minutes, because then you hardly have time to start the ship that you're using, right? So I think that we're broadening the definition from being strategy only, very deep gameplay, to saying like we have games, we're publishing games with that is deep and very like extensive in its form. You need to be very dedicated to the gaming experience to play our games.
You're making some announcements here at the Paradox convention this week. Is there a particular announcement that you're more excited about? And this interview won't go out until the announcement has been made. I'm just making that clear.
I think if I could only pick one, I would have to say Sword of the Stars 2, which is built on a great game. The original Sword of the Stars added a lot to the space strategy genre, and this game has a bigger budget, it has a longer development time, and I think we can do a great job for it in the marketing side as well. We can release the game worldwide at the same time. We can cater to the audience, exactly what the audience wants to see. And I mean, we want to create a Masters of Orion 3 as Masters of Orion 3 should have been. So that's what I'm most excited about.